Okay. So we don't have too much on here. I quickly wanted to review the financial memorandum for tomorrow. We have the bus camera maintenance contract. That's an annual contract that we do. They come in twice a year, make sure everything's working. A donation for Mrs. Velasco's room. And then you'll see two sets of budget transfers. One is under 10,000 and one is over 10,000. So one is informational because the superintendent can sign those. And the other one is over 10,000. And if you look at those, most of that had to do with the retroactive salary increases. So for the over 10,000, we had the tax cert settlement with Abner Doubleday. We budget 10,000 and it was more than that. We have the retroactive contract salary increases. We also did the retirement incentives in there that, for the retirements that we know about. And we're able to absorb them this year because of some of the money that we saved. So we won't use the reserve. We had some additional softwares that we used with the remote learning. And we're switching around our debt payments a little bit because our interest was less, so we'll pay more down on the principal. So that's what most of that, it looks like a huge amount, and it is a huge amount, but that's what most of that was for, and it's coming from other places. So we're not amending the budget to increase the budget, we're just taking it from other places where we had some funding available.
Did you send out attachments, Lisa?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see those. Okay.
Yep, they're on there. Because I actually couldn't find them at first. So I called Reggie frantic. Oh, my attachments aren't there, but they actually are. So, it should be, there's another section, right, under the public. Actually, I think they are in the public attachments in board docs. But if you don't have them, let me know.
Oh, I was just looking at your email. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm just going through the financial memorandum. So it's in board docs.
I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So
Thought I
then
was
the 10,000 and under, we try to always keep it within the same department or same budget lines. So they're all explained on there. And a lot of that had to do with the retroactive. Most of that had to do with the retroactive increases also. Okay. And then some additional teacher curriculum work. So they're all explained in there. The Four Winds tutorial contract, sometimes we have students placed in an outside facility for counseling, and they get tutoring there. So we pay for that tutoring. Some surplus items, and the Handle with Care contract is it's an annual training that we do. It's a special education type of training for how to handle kids the proper way to handle them. So we do that every year. And that's it. There's not a whole lot on there, but I did want to touch on those transfers a little bit. Did you have any questions about that? Okay. So as far as the audit status, we're still waiting for the internal controls audit report from Swinar and Company. I kind of pushed them a little bit on that last week, and she said it would be coming, and I haven't seen it yet. So I'll let you know that that'll probably be at the next meeting to accept, and we'll have to get that right to New York State when we get it, because it's already late. And then the field work for the independent financial audit starts Thursday. So they're going to come in Thursday and start looking at all our numbers, get some preliminary information before the end of the year. So got a couple audits underway. We got a notification, I think you got it, Tom, about the comptroller's office, and they were auditing our tax cap. And I sent them everything, all the details of the calculation. And then I never heard from them because it said that they would be contacting us within the week.
Yeah, because there are a few districts who got the same message.
But they never were contacted after that?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing really to talk about because we sent them all the information. Um, it was every detail on where that calculation came from. So maybe I was thinking maybe they just don't need to talk to us anymore, but I never heard anything more about that.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay. All right. And I think that they're required to do that once every 3 years. They have to look at your tax cap to make sure that you're calculating it correctly. So.
Yeah, that was in one of the documents that they sent that explained that. And I never knew that it had to be every 3 years.
Yeah. Yep. Um, okay, so that's it on the audits right now. Not a lot to report, just that they're in progress. Um, okay, and then for the retiree health insurance, just to give you an update, the file went last week. We ended up with 63 people. And if you take the difference in those premiums, so 63 people, and I mean, give or take a little bit, because some of them, not many, but a few of them were spouses and they pay a little bit towards the insurance. So, but anyway, if you just take it straight off the top, the difference in the premium, that's a savings of about $464,000. So, even if you take some out of there, it's still probably $460,000 savings to the district, which is a good chunk of change. So I think I do believe that we'll also have more in January, because several people called and said, okay, can I wait until January? And we said, sure. So we'll do another campaign, before the January date. But I think, some people are nervous, and I don't blame them about health insurance. And I think, if we can show them that, okay, it didn't have a bad effect on the 63 that switched, then some others will come over too. So I think slowly but surely we'll get that transition. But I think we're off to a good start. 63 is good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. And the only other thing that I had on there, thank you, garbage, is the stimulus funding plan. So we're still in the process of discussing that, and we did get together as an admin team to talk about what we would like to spend that on. A survey was also sent out, which you probably got, the public survey where people could have input. And most of that, I looked at that and it was mostly what we're doing. It's addressing the learning loss and addressing, the emotional and mental issues that might have come from COVID. So a lot of it had to do with that, upgrading our systems, things like that. So I think we're off to a good start with our plan. Now the application is due Tuesday, the 15th. So that's a week from today. I started it. We still have to finalize some of our plans, and Tom and Colleen and I are going to meet again Thursday, right?
Yep.
Thursday, to try to finalize some of this. And some of it, we're still waiting for numbers. So we're just going to have to put placeholders in there, I think. But ironically, this is due next Tuesday, and the biggest portion of the application is still not out there. It's still not available. So there's no way to complete it. We did what we had to do to secure, our funding. But the actual application is not out there. And that's for the $2.9 million portion of the $4.5 million. So that's most of it. But we'll get it done when it's available. But I did want to share a little bit about what we're talking about with using that for. So there's a small portion, almost $52,000. That's the second round of the GEAR funding. We spent the first round last year, as you remember, that was part of our budget. So we're talking about going in and helping with the extended day program, because they had to still function off and on this current year. So that would help offset the loss this current year. We were in and out. We had to go to half fees. For some months we didn't collect fees. So, but But for when school was back in session, we had to keep it going. So a small portion will help that out. We're looking at some cleaning equipment that we need, and they're asking us to really look at, some one-time things. So we were looking at one-time things, but we're also looking at things that we hope to continue. And that's people. And I know a lot of the schools are saying, well, we don't want to hire people because we'll have to lay them off in 3 years. But, if you can guarantee somebody a job for 3 years, and we need those people to address the learning loss. So chances are these people would be absorbed into our budget. And other ways that we can handle that, one way I'm thinking is that the health insurance savings, we should be able to absorb some other costs with that. So I think, we've got 3 or 4 years to work through this, but there are ways to do that. So some of the things that we're looking at are floor machine. We're looking at some of the one-time softwares. We were looking at some of the HVAC controls, but they're kind of hefty. So we probably will stay away from those. But let's see, furnishing or equipping the wellness room, which we have, a really nice wellness room the fitness room, I'm sorry. And a wellness room actually where kids can go. So those are two different things, sorry. The fitness room, we're looking at equipping that finally, right? And then the wellness room is a gathering space, more of a mental health space, right, for students. Tom, you might be able to explain that more.
No, you're right. Just a place maybe to do some small group stuff with our counselors or social worker. Just a nice quiet place if someone needs it.
So that would be, we're talking about, furnishing that. So even though that would continue, it would be a one-time cost to us. We're looking at professional development this summer and also sending people to the Ron Clark Academy from a couple of our buildings. Let's see. So some of the personnel that we're looking at are a social worker at the middle school, a psychologist to help out at the elementaries, LTAs for the kindergarten classrooms. What am I missing? A staff developer, AIS teachers, one for math, one for ELA. So these are the ways that we're addressing the learning loss. We're also looking at social worker, summer school. I said the social worker. Summer school in all of our buildings in addition to the special ed summer school. So we're looking at elementary, middle school, and high school summer school. And we're thinking that once the grant money runs out, hopefully these kids will be caught up by then from the learning loss from COVID, and we won't have to continue that. So that'll help for a few years. But hopefully that would be a one-time thing. The positions that are the ones that I mentioned, the LTAs, we're not sure about that after 3 years. We'll see, maybe they would be shifted from somewhere else. But the other positions, we would be looking to absorb the social worker, psychologist, things like that. Some of the other things, there's a lot of money there. So we're looking to get some of the things done that we keep putting aside at budget time and saying, okay, well, that's really nice, but we can't afford to do it. So the bleachers at the middle school are horrible and they should have been replaced a long time ago. But it's, it's a big number. So we're looking at that. Basketball players, which the cables are.
Actually, I was just going to say, Lisa, sorry, is that somehow fit into the COVID relief, the middle school bleachers?
Yeah, we have to spread kids out. So we need to use our gymnasium spaces now for this, for the students. So yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Okay.
So obviously we didn't budget for the stimulus money, so the board can expect a lot of budget transfers, as we spend these monies, right? Because the expense isn't budgeted either, right?
No. So this one is different than the first stimulus plan. So this one has to be accounted for in a separate fund. So this has to be separate from our budget. And we did put some of our, like we put the high school summer school in our budget, and we'll shift it, and then we put some federal funding in there. So we'll shift that out. But after, after this initial transfer out of the general fund, it'll be taken care of separately in the special aid fund. So it won't run through our regular budget. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're actually compartmentalizing it completely separate.
Yes.
An account shows the money in, money out, and
Yes.
outside of the budget. Got it. Okay.
Yep. So our budget for this year, even though we had the federal fund as a revenue line, we'll take that out and put that over in the special aid fund. So you can see everything tracked separately with the stimulus funds.
Mhm.
But for
And
this, go ahead.
Lisa, I just wanted to say, I don't want us to be shy relative to positions. This is what our kids need now, and we do have a couple of years to try and work this out. But, these are the positions that, we collectively feel will really provide not only the academic, but the social and emotional support for our kids.
Now, you mentioned another psychologist to help out in the elementary school, but doesn't the middle school not have a full-time psychologist in their building?
Yeah, they share one. So now Diana Rutherford could stay in the middle school full-time. And then we'd have a psychologist at each building, which will help tremendously in terms of, diagnostic testing and that kind of stuff. So that will make a huge difference. Because we talked about all that stuff. Do we need a school counselor? What we really need is a psychologist, because they can do so much. And they have a degree of outreach that, we feel is necessary and important right now.
Right. And then we would have one in every single building.
We would, which would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, when we all got together, I think, a lot of this it flowed over to different buildings. If you get a position in one building, it actually helps another. I know that was with the AIS kind of thing too. And that's why it was helpful for all of us as a team to just get together and say, okay, just throw it out there. What can you use? And then when they talk through it, okay, well, if you get that, then I can take this back. And, so I think in the end, it'll work out.
And academically, we're really not in compliance. So this is something that needs to be addressed, here once and for all, so it can really, so our students have the opportunity to take advantage of those services. So I'm excited about it, really.
Yeah. Yep. And I think, through attrition and other things, we'll be able to absorb the needed positions after 3 or 4 years. So, but you know what, who knows what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years? You never know with the funding. We're also, some of the other things we talked about were a safety and systems coordinator. I forgot that one. So that would help us out in the maintenance and transportation departments. We're looking at the PA and clock system, which don't really function well throughout the district. So we're looking to get that replaced. And also, not sure what the requirement here is, and I don't know if anybody knows yet, but Tom would be able to address this more, but a BOCES remote learning coaster. So if we don't do remote learning, then BOCES would.
Well, we're still waiting for some guidance, because we seem to think that we're going to have to provide some sort of remote learning option. And we are not going to host that. BOCES has discussed hosting that for our region. So the only thing is, we're still waiting for a per pupil expenditure from them, so we can budget accordingly, but that hasn't come out yet. So
Right. So I think I kind of hit on everything. Those are the ideas that we have out there. We can always amend our budget because this is going to be flowing for the next 3 or 4 years. So we're obviously going to have to do some amendments, but right now we'll get the application in and get some placeholders in there. But I think that's pretty much what we're talking about. So it does address a lot of the learning loss, and it will help, I think, moving forward, not just addressing this learning loss, but keeping kids on track even after the 3 or 4 years, and then get us some of the things that we really need and have been unable to put in our budget. Oh, the other thing was the multimedia and presentation systems. Riverside and Valley View don't have those. So those are the biggest spaces in the school where we can house all the students, but we don't have the systems to, the multimedia to talk or, do presentations and things like that. So that's been pushed aside for a few years. Every year they bring it up at budget time, and every year we say, oh, that's really expensive, we can't afford that. So we'd like to get those systems in our schools. So I think that's what we're talking about. We're still waiting for some numbers. We have about $500,000 that's not accounted for yet. But like I said, we're still waiting for numbers, and we'll do some placeholders if we need to get that application in on time.
And we're also looking to upgrade our two-way communication system.
Oh, that's right.
District-wide, we do not have a digital two-way radio system now. So by upgrading and putting some repeaters on 3 of our properties, we would be able to communicate not only in our district, but maybe even beyond, and possibly some capabilities to communicate directly with our buses as well. So that is important, and I think that will definitely make us safer as a district as well. So.
Okay. That's right. I do have that on the list. I forgot.
Oh.
So I think that's a lot thrown out there, and I'll send you, the minutes, but there is a lot thrown out there, not finalized yet, obviously, but those are the kind of things that we're talking about doing with the stimulus funding. And the only other thing that I wanted to share with you is that I did talk to Cameron Daniels today from Hogan and Sarzinski. There's some kind of a trial or something like that for the Goodyear Lake Hydro, and that's one of our tax certs. We have that on there for about $13,000. It's 2 years worth, but he says he thinks that's going to settle, but they're actually selling it. So it's a little bit complicated. What they're working on right now is having it lowered drastically for the new buyer, the assessment, but not going backwards and doing refunds. So I think that's going to end in our favor. And then the Abner Doubleday settled. So we really don't have that much left. We have 3 things left. We have UPS, which they're always on there, Mountain View Mobile Home Park, and that's a frequent flyer also. And then Otsego Electric Co-op. So the tax certs are getting settled, and we don't have a lot right now that I know about anyway. So that's a good thing to get them off our list and not have to worry about, going backwards. So I think that's it. Did you have any questions or anything else to add? No? Okay.
How about the Gray Barn? Finagle that into the stimulus money too?
I don't know how we'd get that in there, but we would be looking at repair reserve for that. But I just a couple days ago asked Gavin if he's had a chance to do that yet, and he says he'll get there this week.
Which reminds me, thanks Jamie for bringing it up. I was having a conversation with somebody over the weekend, and they said that there are people out there who want old barnwood and would dismantle barns for less money than it might be to have it torn down.
Oh,
So it's something to look into.
okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, John Messina, who has that business Archtiques or whatever. His father was the one that used to own Messina's Trailer Park. I mean, that's what he does. And maybe we could actually get a profit and not, as opposed to paying to take it down. You know, we might be able to make something on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they have some of that information, if you could forward that on, I mean, we'll look at all options. So, because I don't even know if we want to restore it. Right now, we're just talking about making it safe. But yeah, if we had other options, I mean, I would like to look at that at the same time and see, like, if we could get some money for it, should we just take it down now, you know? So we do want to look at all options, but I don't have anything yet on that. And that's all I have. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Lisa. Thank you,
All
Jamie.
right.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.